Thank you for joining me on my masterclass. Now, this is the first masterclass for 2025, and so I want to say a happy new year to all my viewers. I want to give you a reason, a synopsis for why you were broke and poor in 2024 and how you can break out of that pattern in 2025. And it's going to be just down to this ignorance. The most expensive thing in the world is ignorance because you are more likely to pay for things that you do not know how to do for yourself. And that's ignorance. So, for example, if you're ignorant of the law, you're going to pay a lawyer. If you're ignorant of medicine, you're going to pay a doctor. If you are ignorant of how to cut your hair, you're going to pay a barber. So, the more you know, the more you acquire skills, the more you acquire academic knowledge, the less likely you are to pay others to do things for you. And that's why in 2025, your greatest investment is going to be in yourself, in increasing your knowledge base, in increasing your skills. Now, do not look at skills as something that only low income people do. Some of you watching this are going to be Christians. And we have a savior called Yeshua, whom some people call Jesus. He had a skill. He was a carpenter. You're not better than him. So you can learn a skill. Because here's the thing, if you do not know how to cook, it's going to be costing you about 10% of your income to eat out. And you don't have to take my word for it, you can research it. So by curing that ignorance, by learning how to cook, you can save 10%. But here's the thing about skills. If you learn a skill, you don't just reduce your outgoings, your expenditure. You can actually increase your income because if you know how to cook, for example, you can start cooking for others and start charging them. So, for example, if you know how to cut your hair as a guy, you're saving about 3% of your income. If you're a woman, if you know how to do your hair, it goes up. You're saving about 5% of your income. If you, as a person, do not know how to drive, for example, you're going to have to pay a driver and you're going to have to pay him money. So it's costing you money. But if you know how to drive, you can drive your car and you can actually drive for others and make money. But the biggest thing that makes people ignorant and lose their money is actually ignorance on how money works. Most people put their money in banks, and it's actually the stupidest thing, forgive my French, that you can do with your money. And I'm going to explain to you why. Look, take a bottle of Coke. How much was a bottle of Coke January of 2024? If you can think back, if you don't know, you can actually go on Google and it's going to tell you. How much is a bottle of Coke today? In my home country, the bottle of Coke has gone up. The price for a bottle of Coke has gone up by about 25%. In the United States, where I live, it's actually going to buy between 2 to 3%, depending on the state where you live in. In the United Kingdom, it's going to buy about 7%. In Germany, it's going to buy about 5.5%. Now, why that increase? That's inflation. The prices of goods and services, they don't go down, they always go up. But if you take your money and put your money in a bank, your bank is never going to give you 25% interest if you're in Nigeria or 7% interest if you're in the United Kingdom. They're going to give you a rate of interest that is lower than the rate of inflation. So you have to cure yourself of the ignorance of not knowing what the banks are doing with your money. Because the banks are doing something with your money. They're not just putting your money in a vault. They're doing something with your money. They're investing it. And most banks, because I've got a master's in banking and finance, international banking and finance law from the United Kingdom, I know most banks will invest your money in a mutual fund linked to the S&P 500. Now, what's the S&P 500? The S&P 500 is an index which is controlled by the Standard and Poor's, which is a ratings agency of the 500 largest corporations in the United States by market capitalization. Now, that index, they sell that index to different companies and then they create a list and then you buy into that mutual fund. Last year, the S&P 500 had a return on investment of about 23.31%. That's an exact amount. So if you had invested $1,000, you would have made $231.31, which is more, far more than any bank can give you. In fact, that's what the banks are doing with their own money. But here's the thing, it even goes better. You see, in the S&P 500, you've got what they call the Magnificent Seven, which are the seven largest corporations in the S&P 500, which are going to be Apple, Microsoft, NVIDIA, Meta, Amazon, Tesla. Now, these companies, they are the seven largest corporations in the S&P 500. Collectively, they had an ROI, return on your investment, of 64% last year. The year before, 2023, it was 75%. So if you buy shares directly into these companies, just buy shares into these companies, you are going to make at least in a year, probably 50% of your money, maybe more. So that's how banks are making money on your money. But because you're ignorant of that, you're not doing that. And some of you will say, well, I live in a place called Boko in Nigeria. I live in a place called Eldoret in Kenya. Or I live in a place called, I mean, Timbuktu somewhere. And I cannot do this. You're wrong. You're actually wrong. There are apps out there by which you can actually invest directly into the US stock exchange. You do not need to be an American citizen or resident to invest in these companies. You can be from anywhere. The only countries where you cannot do this is countries where the US has put some sanctions, like Iran and North Korea, and right now Russia. But almost every other country on earth, you can actually do that. So if you don't know how to do it, just subscribe to me on X. I'll hold your hands. I'll teach you how to do it. I have the most subscribers on Africa in the African continent of anybody. Nobody has more subscribers than I do. And that's why Business Insider named me the most influential business person in Africa on the internet. So I encourage you, get knowledge. And even if you don't want to subscribe to me, that's okay. But get knowledge, get financial knowledge. Find out which apps work in your country because a lot of these apps are country specific. And so you get on these apps and then you begin to buy funds, buy stock, buy ETFs. Now, if you don't want to just invest in the Magnificent Seven that I told you about, that's okay. You can invest in the Vanguard VOO or the Vanguard VFIS or the Vanguard VSMPX or in the Fidelity funds or in the Invesco QQQ. There are a number of mutual funds that you can actually buy just on the stock exchange as if you're just buying, like a stock. That's why a lot of them are called ETFs. ETF just means exchange traded funds. These are mutual funds that you can buy on the stock exchange. But please, I'm begging you, do not leave your money in a bank and say you're making money. No. $1 put in the bank in 2024, by today, the bank would give you interest on that $1, maybe $1.03. Now, that $1.03, if you take it, you cannot buy what $1 could have bought last year. So take your money out of banks and begin to invest them. My name is Renan Makri. If you watch this, you got questions arising from this, put them in the comment section. I'll do my best to respond to you. Thank you for watching and may God bless you.